20% of time spent in sales is actually in front of the customer. This is when you're actively selling, you're doing discovery, you're dealing with objections. 80% of the time, 80% of your time is going in between what's actually happening between customer interactions. It's how you manage your deals, it's how you follow up, it's how you drive urgency, and it's how you figure out how to drive to a proper close. When a mentor first broke this down for me, it blew my mind. It completely changed how I started thinking about sales, but more importantly, it made me realize, it made my team realize that we needed a proper sales methodology. One of the biggest things about a sales methodology is how you manage your pipeline, your sales pipeline. So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles that you absolutely need to know on how to manage your sales process. And when you implement these 3 principles that I learned the hard way, you'll be able to close more deals, win more customers, and accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching program, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. I remember when in my last company, ToutApp, we started switching from being product-led to doing sales-driven deals. We started getting multiple team members signing up for our product. We started to get larger deals, larger companies, and we had to build out a proper sales process. Now, there were pros and cons to this. Self-service required no sales process, but the deal sizes were $30 a month. But when we were doing sales-driven deals, there were 100K deals, there were 200K deals. They were getting bigger and bigger. We had to figure out how to be effective in properly doing these sales motions and winning more of these deals. And over time, as we really honed in on our process, the reason we were able to increase our win rates and drive more revenue growth was because we got intentional about having a proper sales methodology. A sales methodology is your proper process. It's your sales process on how you turn a real opportunity to a one customer and then expand it over time. A big part of your sales methodology is how you manage your pipeline. It's how you manage all the deals that you're doing. That's that 80% of time you're spending in between the actual customer conversations. This is something that I had to learn the hard way. In fact, when we went through this, our 6-person team was able to achieve $1 million in ARR because we put in a proper sales methodology. We then scaled the company, we brought on even more salespeople, brought on an entire leadership team, and then eventually we exited the company to a market leader. Fast forward to today, I've helped hundreds of founders revamp their sales methodology, but also really figure out how to manage their sales pipeline. So in this episode, based on my years of experience, I'm gonna walk you through the key principles, the 3 key principles that you absolutely need to know on how to manage your pipeline and win more deals. And if you watch till the end, I'll even give you a bonus principle that I've learned from coaching other founders that will really, really increase your win rates, and you can actually implement it by the end of this episode. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's dig right into it. Principle number 1 in this entire process, and this is something that it sounds obvious, but a lot of founders don't do it, especially when they're going through initial scale, is to have a proper CRM system. And if you're like, TK, a CRM is way too complicated, we don't even have enough deals, that's fine. You don't have to use a free CRM. You can actually use a spreadsheet. Either way, figure out a way where you write down every single deal that you're working and actually tracking. The reason for this, there's a few different things. The first thing is you will forget. You'll do a call and then at the end of it, you won't follow up or you won't reach back out. That's number 1, where in order to win deals in a consistent clip and in a predictable way, you really need to track exactly the calls you're having and the deals that you're working. The second is, remember, 80% of the time, 80% of the work is really what happens in between deals. And unless you can look at something where you can look at, here are all my deals, and then look at each of them and say, what do I need to do to win any one of these deals? Unless you can actually see a list or some sort of a board where you can see all these things, you won't be able to work those deals. Remember, the deals really get won not just on the sales call, but what you do in between the sales call or in between the customer interactions. The number one thing you really want to do is get disciplined on having a proper CRM system in place. There's lots of CRMs out there. There's free CRMs, there's paid CRMs. You can go with whichever one you like, it doesn't matter, but set up a proper CRM system and get into the discipline of updating your information in the CRM. Now, one of the big things that I always recommend that founders do is have a Monday pipeline meeting. A Monday pipeline meeting is where you and anyone else, it could be your co-founder, it could be your initial salespeople, anyone that's relevant to winning deals, gets together and stares at the pipeline. The pipeline is the set of deals that you have in motion, so you can look at it and say, okay, here are the deals we're working, what do we know, and what do we need to do to move things along and actually win this as a customer. In addition to the CRM, where you keep everything up to date, set up a discipline where 1 to 3 times a week, you're having a pipeline meeting. Definitely starting with Monday, because it sets the tone for the rest of the week on what you need to focus on and who you need to follow up with and what deals you have coming up this week. So it's super powerful. Once you have the CRM system and you have this discipline of like, okay, we're gonna do a pipeline meeting. We're gonna review the deals. We're gonna figure out what we need to do next to start winning these deals. The second thing that you really wanna figure out, when you use the bigger marker because it's so important, is to figure out your stages of a deal. You should have your CRM stages that outlines, here's the key inflection points a customer goes through or a potential customer goes through in order to become a customer. Every SaaS business is different, and when I'm working with founders inside of the go-to-market program, we map out the stages in different ways. Some sales cycles, it's a one-call close. You give a demo, you run the discovery call, and then they sign up. Other sales cycles can take 12 months. I've got founders that have enterprise motions. They're $1 million deals they're working, and it takes a lot longer to win a deal. Regardless of the length of your deal cycle, and it will vary depending on your ideal customer and who you're selling to and how they buy and the cost and the price, all that stuff, there are going to be stages that you take them through. The first stage that you're going to have is discovery. This is essentially your first call. And your first call is not about, hey, here's why we're awesome, do you want to buy? It's really about understanding, why should they come with you? Why are they on the call? Why do they need the solution? What is the urgent, important problem they're needing solved? How important is the priority? Do they have budget? These are things that you figure out on that call, which is part of a broader sales process, but you want to make sure you have a proper discovery stage. Once you have the discovery stage, then you get into a demo stage. And sometimes this can be in one call, or it could be on multiple calls, depending on the complexity of your product, the problem you're solving, and the solution that you are delivering. And then as you get past the demo stage, then you get into the proposal stage. This is when you have said, hey, do you want to buy? And they're like, absolutely, send us a proposal. And you send them a proposal, which they start reviewing to figure out if they want to do the deal. And even from a proposal stage, there could be multiple stages that come after. It could be procurement, it could be legal, depending on the complexity. Or if you're selling to the SMB or the mid-market, they say, okay, cool, we'll sign the DocuSign, or we'll swipe the credit card, or click on the Stripe link and we'll get started. So you'll want to figure out if you need additional stages after proposal, or if that's the main stage, and you start to get to the next stage, which is essentially where the money comes. This is where you won and you earn the money. Needless to say, sales is not 100%. The benchmarks that I see is if you have an inbound deal where they're booking time with you to request to get a demo and actually enter a sales process, you should be winning 40 to 50% of those deals. The other 50% you're going to lose. That's just the nature of sales. If you're doing outbound, where you're prospecting into them and kind of convincing them like, hey, you should get on a call with us, then roughly 20% is the benchmark of win rates. You'll win 20% of the deals, and 80% of the deals you will lose. Regardless of what motion you're doing to generate the pipeline, you're gonna have a certain percentage that goes to one, and you're gonna have a certain percentage that you lose. So you also wanna make sure that you log all the deals that you lost. One of the things I covered in one of my other videos is that roughly 3% of the target market you're going after is buying now. The other 97% may just be exploring or researching or don't even know about the solution you're offering yet, or the problem. They're not even aware of the problem. In those kind of cases, that's why some of the deals you're gonna win, some of them you're gonna lose. Obviously, the better the work you do in your marketing to create these opportunities as part of your go-to-market machine, and the better the work that you do to win these opportunities, which is your sales process, the higher the win rates, but you're still gonna have some losses. The important thing to know is even if they're not buying now, they may buy later, or you want to track why you lost to see if there's some inherent problem in your go-to-market that you need to address. In any case, you want to make sure you have a stage where you're tracking all your closed lost deals so that you can go back to them. And I'll talk more about that towards the end of this episode because there's one key thing that I want to highlight that I've learned for that. Principle number 1 is have a CRM. Principle number 2 is inside of your CRM, set up the key stages a deal goes through, and a prospect goes through, or a person goes through, a company goes through to discover you, then to get a demo of your product, to get a proposal, and eventually become a customer. For some companies, this could be 8 stages. For some companies, this is it. For some companies, it's 2 stages. It depends. That's part of architecting your sales process. But when it comes to managing the pipeline, what you really want to understand is what are the stages and how do we get through it. So that's the chessboard. That's how you set this up. Now, the third principle is where these pieces really come together. I'm going to talk about how you can actually run these pipeline meetings and what you're doing in between the actual customer interactions. This is where the magic really starts to happen. You can start to increase your win rate. I'll also talk about a bonus one I've learned as I've coached hundreds of founders on their sales process. But before we go into that, let me pause here for a second. You're starting to see the power of thinking about your sales process as a machine. Remember, marketing plus sales equals go-to-market. A lot of people have lost sight of what go-to-market even means. And go-to-market is marketing, which is how you land these deals, how you get opportunities. And sales is how you turn the opportunities to revenue. So you want to think about your sales process. You want to think about your sales methodology. You want to think about how you manage your pipeline and what you do in between the sales calls. You also want to think about how you run those sales calls. There is a whole art and science to this that increases your win rates and increases your revenue. And also, when you do it in this way and really think about it intentionally, what this does is it sets you up for productizing your sales process, which means that the founder, you don't have to do sales forever. You can hire professional salespeople that can pick this up and start to run the sales process that you know that's unique to your company and the market you're selling into. Every company is different. So this is why this is super important to set up this pipeline, set up the CRM, start tracking these things, start thinking intentionally about what this machine looks like, because it allows you to win more deals, get more revenue, but also productize the sales process so you can bring people in and they can take it over from you. So if you're starting to see the power of this, if you're starting to get a little excited about sales, this is how I got into the game. I came as an engineer, but when I really started to learn this, I'm like, oh my God, this is a system. This is a process, and we can really systematize it and increase the yield, and we can plug people in. That's how I got excited about it. That's why I love sales, and that's why I love marketing. If you're starting to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. And so do we. We put a lot of love into these videos. And also, if you're in this stage where you're setting up your sales process and you're trying to figure out what should my stages be, how should I run my discovery calls, how do I win more deals? If you're also starting to figure out, well, how do I get more deals so I can actually win them? This is why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. I teach you how to build out your go-to-market machine, your marketing machine, and your sales machine so you can actually scale your growth. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this episode. I'll also link to it below. Let's go into principle number 3, where a lot of these pieces start to come together. Also, if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. The third principle I have for you is how to think about pipeline management. And part of this, there's so much here, but part of this is also how to think about your sales process. Now, here's the trick that I learned. This is like the key principle that I really learned. When you're doing a job right, when you're doing marketing, you should consistently get a set of sales opportunities. You're gonna get, these are all the different sales opportunities that you're gonna be working. As you figure out how to work these calls, you do them in a right way. And it's not just about asking like, hey, do you want to buy? Because the product's awesome. It's really like running the proper sales process. You're gonna move more of these opportunities to demo. You're gonna move more of these opportunities to proposal. You're gonna win customers, and then you're going to lose some. And that's totally normal. Now, here's the mantra that helped me the most. During these pipeline meetings, we ask ourselves, hey, what do we need to do to move this specific deal over to the demo stage? What do we need to do to move this deal that's at the demo stage to proposal? What do we need to do with this proposal that's been sent with this deal to move it to closed won? That act, every Monday, every Thursday, however often you're doing your pipeline meeting, whether it's with yourself or with others that are involved in the sales process, that act of asking, what do we need to do to move the deal to the next stage? That is the key. That is what you need to be spending 80% of the time. The biggest thing you want to be asking yourself is, what are the reasons they're going to say no? What are the objections that we know about? One of the things we did for one of my companies is we take the transcript of every Zoom call and we pipe it in to a custom GPT. And the custom GPT is trained on our sales process. It's trained on our sales script, and it does a score of, hey, did you do all these things in the discovery call? And in addition to that, it highlights here are the 4 or 5 big objections that were raised. And we use that to follow up with them to say, hey, just so you know, we thought through these things that you raised, and here's what we have to say about it. So we keep getting proactive about what do we need to do to move it to the next stage, but also what's the big reason they are going to say no, and how do we get ahead of that? And that's principle number 3. Once you have this set up, you have the CRM, you have your pipeline meetings, that's the setup. And then you have the stages, then you just get into this discipline. 80% of your time is like, what do we need to do to move this deal to this deal to this? 2 things come out of this. 1, you get very intentional. I'm going to use the green marker for this. You get very intentional, which means that you're just going to make more money. You're going to win more deals. The second thing is you start to understand the percentages. You start to understand from your CRM, and if you're using any CRM, it'll give you these metrics on what percentage of deals are going from discovery to demo, what percentage of deals are going from demo to proposal, but most importantly, what percentage of deals are going from discovery to close won. This is what we call your win rate. And let's just say your win rate is 10%. Well, then you're like, well, we're below benchmark. So we need to amp up our game. We need to improve our sales process. We need to figure out where we're going wrong. But let's just say you're at benchmark. You're at 20% or you're 50%, depending on whether you're inbound or outbound. Then you can start to figure out how much pipeline do you need? So one of the things is, how do we move the deal forward? The other thing you want to do in these pipeline meetings is figure out, do we have enough pipeline to hit our target number? The rule of thumb, the benchmark for this is you need 5x. So if you have $1 million target, you want to generate $1 million of ARR, then you need $5 million of pipeline. So you can start to ask yourselves, okay, given our win rate, given our target number, how much pipeline do we need? Or you can just 5x it. And you can start to look at, do we have enough pipeline? And then you can start to figure out of these deals, we'll work these, we're good, but how do we get the next 10 deals, the next 100 deals? Do we have the right marketing? And between marketing and sales, you have a proper go-to-market machine, and you're able to actually drive growth. So that's how these pieces come together. Let's recap. Principle number 1 for your pipeline management is flesh out your CRM, establish a CRM system, and get into the discipline of putting in all your deals in there. And you can actually automate some of these things if you do it the right way. As part of that, set up a pipeline review meeting every Monday, every Thursday is the way I like to do it, where whether with yourself or with others in your team, you're reviewing your pipeline. Once you've set up your CRM, principle number 2 is set up the stages. What are the stages a deal goes through to actually be won? Principle number 3 is actually run the pipeline meetings. Figure out for each deal, what do we need to do to move it to the next stage? Now, I did promise you a bonus one, so I'm going to give that to you right over here. The bonus that I have for you is to nurture your closed lost. This is super powerful. A lot of times when someone says, hey, no, we're not gonna buy, or they ghost you, people ghost you all the time in sales. I've had old friends of mine that have gone through the sales process and then ghost me. It's the weirdest thing. Just remember, people don't ghost you for you, they just are not ready for whatever reason. The thing that you wanna do, the bonus principle here, is the people in lost, keep nurturing them. Whether it's through marketing or just reaching out every quarter, just reach out to them like, hey, we met before, it wasn't the right time. You mentioned this was the problem. Is now a better time to engage and actually solve that problem? Is that still a problem? If they went with a competitor, follow up with them a year from now, but nurture them along the way. So that's the bonus one, because one of the things that I have in every company, this is a mantra we created, I learned it at ToutApp in my last company, was they always come back. They might have gone with Yesware, but they came back. They might have gone with any of the competitors, but they come back. In a long enough timeline, they will come back. And that's true in every sales cycle. So don't think a lost is they're dead to you, but always nurture them and they will come back because you'll stay top of mind. All right, so those are the principles. And now you know, based on those principles, on how to revamp your sales process, how to start thinking about a sales methodology, and how to manage your pipeline. What you may not know is, TK, how do I get more pipeline? What should my marketing be so I have enough of these deals? What you may not know is, TK, how should I run my discovery call so that I'm not just pitching a demo and then they're not buying? What you may not know is, how do I manage the objections and get ahead of it? You may not know how to set up your pricing so that you're winning more of the deals. Believe it or not, pricing is one of the big determiners to your win rate. You may not know how to get enough pipeline coverage. So if you want my help in building out a proper go-to-market machine that includes a marketing system and a sales system, this is how I help inside of my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. The whole point of the program is to help you go from your current go-to-market strategy to a well-defined and scalable go-to-market strategy. The way we do this is we cover 3 core pillars. The first pillar in the go-to-market program is we flesh out your ideal customer profile. The better the fit on these deals, the more likely you're going to win. So we really want to make sure what your ideal customer profile is. Everyone thinks they know what their ideal customer profile is, but the reality is it's easy to create one. It's a lot harder to look at it and have the intellectual conversation on whether it's the right one or not. A lot of founders are debating between 2 or 3 different ICPs, and picking the right one is super important in fleshing it out. The second pillar I focus on with you is building out your manifesto. Your manifesto is your positioning, it's your messaging, it's also your sales deck. So it's super important to really flesh this out in the right way so you can communicate exactly what your unique value is and why you're 10 times better than the competition. And then the third pillar is the Broadway show. The Broadway show is a consistent set of sales and marketing activities that you can run to bring your manifesto to your ICP on a consistent basis on the marketing side, turn them into real sales opportunities, and then actually run the sales process so that you can actually drive to a 1 customer. I'll even show you how to nurture your closed lost so that you win them eventually, creating a compounding effect for your company. It is an incredible program, so if you'd like to work together, just go to tkkader.com/GTM. tkkader.com/GTM. For the next week, I'm personally meeting with founders that want to work with me. And the way it works is you can go to that page and get all the details on what the program entails. If it sounds like a fit, just book a time by answering a few questions. On the call, we'll review where you are with your business, what you're struggling with, and if it sounds like I can help inside of my go-to-market program, we're off to the races right away. So just go to tkkader.com/GTM. Now, if you got value from this video, which hopefully you did, if you're still watching, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. Also, if you have a fellow founder, if you have a team member that would get value from this video, please share this video with them. A lot of the founders and CEOs that I coach bring on the rest of their team as well, some of the later stage companies, and we all work together to revamp their sales process and their marketing process. So it's incredibly powerful. Also, I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. So you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you inside the SaaS Go-to-Market Coaching Program. Take care, everybody.